Hello, welcome back to Barn One. Today I want to talk about carb swapping a Porsche 924 and some of the obstacles and hurdles you guys are going to run into. Alright, so this is my car. It's a 1980 Porsche 924. When I got it, it had been sitting for quite some time. I couldn't get it running. I struggled with it and decided that the best course of action would be to go with a carb swap. I know a lot of the Porsche purists out there are going to say that that's blasphemy, and I've seen it online. But I'd rather have a car running and non-original than sitting in original. So I went with the Weber carbs as opposed to motorcycle carb kit. This kit came from a company called Pierce Manifolds out in California somewhere. I found them on eBay, and I went with them for a couple of reasons, but their manifold looked the most legit. It wasn't something that was welded up or anything like that. It's a cast piece. Came with new real deal Weber carburetors and air filters. Believe it or not, the air filters kind of pushed me over the top because that was another like 80, 70, it was more money that I didn't have to spend. That was included in the kit. So right now I have the little velocity stacks on there because I've been tuning the carbs, but we'll go over how we got here. First off, all of the Porsche fuel injection stuff can come out. The intake manifold, the air box, the fuel distributor, all of it can come out, and it leaves this big open space in here. I didn't know how to proceed at first. I got this box full of carburetors and manifold stuff and kind of just stared at everything a little lost. So just dive in, pull everything out. All the vacuum lines, all that stuff is not needed. You will want to take care and preserve your two fuel lines. They're down there underneath the brake master cylinder, brake booster here. We'll talk about those in depth in a little bit here, but as you can see, the line with the filter on it, that was originally the return line, and the line to the right of it, that was the fuel send line from the tank. I capped that off, and we don't use that anymore. We'll get back there or look at that in some way, and I'll show you what happened there. Got an inline filter because you should, and just a cheap fuel pressure regulator. Right now it's set to 2.5 pounds. Go with what the carbs say. It is not a high pressure system. You just need to have fuel present. So a lot of what we had to do in the back was replace the existing 2 fuel pumps with 1 fuel pump. And again, we'll get there. But here in the engine bay, fuel line, throttle cable. This was an aftermarket piece. I had to modify it to fit the gas pedal. And then this kit came with this guy here is my throttle cable linkage. It mounted to the top of one of the carbs. I didn't really like it. It took the throttle cable and put it up, and it was bumping on the hood, and I just thought that was a little shady. So a good friend of mine had this top mount kit. It is a Weber accessory that you can buy online. I highly recommend it. It then takes the linkage and runs it through a little arm. It's fantastic. I'm very happy with that. The kit did not come with gaskets. I made that out of gasket maker material, and the kit did not come with provisions to plug the fuel injector ports in the head. Now, the fuel injectors themselves pop in and are held in place with a rubber O-ring. That O-ring sits firmly in a plastic insert. That plastic insert is old and brittle. It's been subjected to heat, fuel, time, all kinds of nonsense. Maybe you're lucky and they come out, but I've heard horror stories of guys trying to turn those, them crumbling and falling down into the head and the engine. Then you got to take your head off. I didn't want to risk that. So, somewhere on the internet, somebody said that that's a basic M24 by 1.5 thread. I found these plugs. They're common in the Volkswagen world. I believe they're a transmission plug, oil drain pan plug, something of that nature. I bought a set of them, and since I couldn't get those inserts out, I didn't use them. What I did was buy a new set of injector O-rings, and I used fender washers, or fender washer bolts, sorry. Very similar to this guy here, just a larger size, and I picked them up at the hardware store, and that seems to do the trick. Another thing that the kit does not directly provide you with is vacuum. They give you 3 options here, 1, 2, and 3, for you to drill and get your own vacuum. Now, that's a big piece of metal. It's expensive and not something you can pick up everywhere. I chalked it up very carefully in a vise and then ran it in the drill press and drilled and tapped it for this guy here, which I bought at Home Depot. It's just an MPT hose barb. I think it's 1/4 inch NPT on one side and whatever that hose diameter is on the other, and barbed. So slapped a piece of hose on there. The only 2 things you're going to need vacuum for moving forward are the vacuum advance on the distributor and your brake booster. So I took that line over there, teed off it, and provided vacuum to the distributor. One of the hurdles moving forward for tuning the car is recurving the distributor. I haven't gotten there yet, to be honest. And when I do, we'll cross that hurdle. But that's it. Pretty straightforward. I haven't put the air filters on yet. I'm still working on dialing in the carbs. The car does run, but once it started running, I ran into other issues. Again, this car sat for close to 6-7 years before I got it. So we're getting there, but very pleased with the kit. And we're going to go look at what you got to do at the fuel tank. All right, we're here at the workbench, and I'm going to do my best to explain this in a clean and logical manner to you. This is a drawing of the fuel tank on a 924. There are 2 lines going in and out, one being a send line and the other being the old return line. There are 2 fuel pumps and a fuel accumulator on a stock 924. There is an in-tank fuel pump, low pressure, that provides fuel to a high-pressure pump and an accumulator. The accumulator acts like a shock absorber, providing consistent fuel pressure to the fuel injection system. These cars really required a very consistent fuel pressure. I want to say it was somewhere like 74, 75 psi. Right now we're running 2.5 psi. What we did there was a lot of the guys online will tell you to buy one of these. This is a fuel strainer that goes in the tank where that in-tank pump sits, and it threads in there. I had issues getting my in-tank fuel pump out. I was concerned that I was going to strip the tank out, that fitting that's pressed into the tank was going to come out. It wasn't worth the trouble of getting this in there. So what I did was cap that line off, and I used the return line as my new send line to the engine compartment. I went with a Edelbrock inline low-pressure fuel pump that came from Pierce Manifolds. They provided it and recommended it. I think it was like 40 or 60 bucks, very reasonable, all things considered. And I used the wiring for the in-tank fuel pump that was already there and wired in my new fuel pump. Now the problem then became, once I turned the car on, fuel pump didn't spin. And I think the entire reason the car sat idle for so long was this guy right here. This is the infamous 924 fuel pump relay. It's a normal relay with the added modification that it looks for an input from a tach to see that the engine is still spinning. In the event of a crash or some type of calamity, it will stop pumping fuel into the engine compartment. They don't want to make a fire worse by adding fuel to it. That was the theory or the technology at the time. So what I did was I found that a modern 4-conductor relay fits in there just the same. I had to bypass the input for the tach. I jumpered that, and I could dig up the wiring schematic on how I did that, but off the top of my head, I'm not remembering exactly. But this relay that I bought online pressed right in there. I bought it on Amazon. I wanted one, and I got a dozen of them. Somehow I won the relay lottery that day. But if you're having trouble, definitely get rid of this guy. They don't make them anymore, and if you can find them, they're incredibly expensive. I was told during COVID they quit making them altogether, or at least that's what I saw online. But I keep it up here on my workbench as a reminder of all the things I hate about the stock fuel setup. So another thing I feel it's worth mentioning is I went with a Weber carburetor kit because they're new. The carbs showed up new in box. There was no question there. I have seen that a lot of the motorcycle kits are either on back order or delay because you're waiting for somebody to rebuild a set of carbs for you, and it comes down to the quality of the guy that rebuilt them. You don't know if the floats have been replaced or what the exact status of them is. It would suck to do all this work and then have to troubleshoot new carburetors that were rebuilt by somebody who maybe didn't know what was going on. So Pierce Manifolds was great. I had to call him on one occasion about fuel pressure or something, and I got to speak to the owner of the company. I really appreciated that. I can't say anything but great things about them and their product. The manifold was a piece of art. Do take care when you're going to drill and punch your holes in that. It's a softer material, and go slow and chalk it up solid in the drill press. Don't try to freehand it and screw that up on yourselves. But I hope this helps somebody and get your project on the road. And if you have any questions, post them up in the comments. I'll do my best to answer those. I'm not a Porsche expert. I'm just a guy that likes cars, but I like to see people accomplish their goals and finish their projects, so I'll try to help. Please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you back here again on the channel. Thanks again.